Nice to see you, Ilangho. It's been a while. I can't remember when the last time was, but I know that you've been calling a few times and I haven't been able to take your call. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, very well. What about you?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah. So shall we? Yes.
Is it
Um,
a little bit? I think it's a little bit off time.
Meaning?
I think there's a little bit of delay between our speaking, but that's okay.
Is it so?
Just a little bit. It's okay though. Not very much. Considering you're thousands of miles away, and
Mm,
it's pretty amazing that this is all happening.
yeah. How to get to the status that you are in now?
I'm not in a state, Ilangho. I'm not in a state. I do not want to be an enlightened person. This is
I'm not talking about
in no way do I want that title or that idea that anyone's in a state here. As
It was on, the stream has stopped, is it?
Yeah, the stream stopped for some reason.
Okay, we are not talking about enlightenment because it doesn't exist. And we are not talking about a state. But this thing which is talking now wants to know how it can reach a situation where it can become limitless, like that. What he did last time, like what
Yeah,
happened to you in.
yeah. Um, and the thing is about that is that it's there, it's happening. And I don't want to give you hope. So I don't want to give hope as in like giving you the imagination that enlightenment is something for you to achieve. But on the personal level, the best things that you can do is listen to non-duality and just become more and more honest about what the actual experience is, as well as listening to non-duality and non-dual speakers.
But the you doesn't exist, right?
Huh?
The you doesn't exist.
No, the you doesn't exist, but you feel like you're there, right, Ilangho?
Then what are you talking to, and who are you talking to, and what is the message?
So you feel like you're sitting there listening to me. So if I say to you, put your hand in the air, you feel like you can put your hand in the air. Yeah? But that's not the experiencer. That is an experience appearing. But if I said to you, pass the salt, then you can pass the salt. So while you feel like someone, you're going to seek. No matter what, you're going to seek. So while that person's feeling that strong seeking energy of wanting everything to be different and suffering because it's wanting to be somewhere else, then what it can do is just become more honest with itself. Just say, okay, this is where I am.
But there is no
Rather than,
you.
no, there is no you, but while you feel like there is someone there, say, this is where I am. I feel tightness in my chest. I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere else. And just be honest. If you're not honest, then what you'll do is you'll keep the seeking momentum going by
But
pretending
there
that
is
you
no
want
free will.
something. No, there is no free will.
Then what are you talking to? Who to do what? You
Well,
understand?
yeah. Well,
From there is a message to this robot which cannot, which is totally important to do the command. See,
yeah,
you're giving me, for example, a computer language which I don't understand. There is a block,
yeah,
and you're talking. Am I right?
yeah.
On the
So,
dot.
so now,
You're
what?
giving me a command.
Yeah,
It apparently appears to be that I am following a command and doing it, but actually they're totally disconnected.
yeah. Well, no, it seems that way. So if I say to you, now put your hand in the air, it seems like you can put your hand in the air. Ultimately, it's not you putting your hand in the air. It appears like Langho is, but it's
Who's doing
life
it?
making the hand move. It's life saying this out of this mouth, and it's life responding in that way. And the best thing that you can do as a,
1 minute,
when,
1 minute. Uh, Apparently, it appears, it seems English is a nice language, that you are telling me this and I'm doing this.
yeah,
When life is doing it,
yeah.
how do you reconcile this fact of this non-dual teaching where it appears to be totally disconnected, but then there is an apparent cause and effect in a time-space world?
Yeah.
That's the difference. How do you reconcile this? Reconcile.
I don't think you can reconcile it.
Because you tell me to put up the hand, I put up the hand.
Yeah.
And it appears that as if you are telling to me and I am doing it, but
Yeah.
it's life doing it, which I understand.
Yeah.
But
So
these
the
two facts are totally disconcerting and totally on opposite levels. The
yeah,
cause and effect is not true, is what you're saying.
yeah. No, it's
Correct.
the cause and effect isn't true, and it's also not true that there's somebody inside Ilangho's body that's
Correct.
responding independently and is separate.
But apparently it appears in the story that this command is coming from here and this is
Yeah,
happening.
yeah, yeah.
Correct.
And so when you're by yourself and the suffering comes up, I would just be honest about that and just go as deep as you can into that feeling. But
So apparently there are,
not with the objective of getting to enlightenment, just to this will be the most relaxing thing for the person to do. The
so the person
suffering
doesn't exist.
comes the suffering comes from the seeking to be something else. Yes, you're right, the person doesn't exist, but it feels like you exist, right?
Yeah. So you're talking to a software which does not have the command to execute your command.
But it more
Correct.
than likely will. I
But
mean,
there is no connection.
haven't you become more aware of your feelings since I started speaking about the feelings?
Yes.
It's not you doing it, it's just that it's what happens. If I started teaching you maths and every stream was talking about maths or French, then you'd become it would become a bit more aware of it, or it would appear there more. But yes, there is nobody there. There is nobody here. There is
There's no
nobody
teaching.
speaking. There is only
There's no teaching.
boundlessness.
There's
There
no
is no
teaching.
teaching. But the person, when it feels separate, and when it's really lost in the dream, it's going to really suffer when it keeps seeking unconsciously. As the person, the more conscious you come of your seeking patterns, the more they will relax and you will become more balanced and more comfortable. But that's not about a
Okay.
goal of getting to enlightenment.
Okay. Suppose I had not met you online and I had not known your teachings.
Yeah.
Would this have happened to me despite? Probably.
These questions,
Suppositions.
yeah, and they already come from a bizarre way of thinking. Like, thinking is a bizarrity. It's not an actuality. It's something that we as humans have made up. And the way that we think is we know left because we know right. We know good because we know bad. We know high because we know low. So our thinking isn't an actuality. It's something we use in order to be able to measure life. And then we try to talk about these abstract concepts in it, and it doesn't really fit. Like, it's so abstract, Ilangho, that you think that you could have another possibility, and you could even think about what that other possibility is. And so the idea that if you hadn't met this, you could then awaken is such a bizarre idea. But the reason that you want to know about that is because more than likely what's going on in you is you're feeling uncomfortable with the contradictions, or you're feeling fearful, and so therefore you're wanting a very straight teaching. You want to know something.
No, I've got your teaching very, very correctly. Let me probably tell it in a different way.
Yeah.
See, this is a human body which is living, right?
Seems to be.
There is life in this. Something is happening in this. This is a colony of cells, 100 trillion cells.
Yeah.
Each cell having 100 trillion atoms, all automatically functioning by itself.
Yeah.
And the difference between this type of body sitting out here, the 7 billion bodies, and the so-called enlightened masters like you, let me finish, is that, let me ask you this question with a certain introduction. I have a laptop in front of you, you have a laptop. They are silicon-based computers, whereas the human body is a carbon-based computer with 100 trillion cells, with the software running inside. The only difference between the normal people like us, seekers, and those who are finished their seeking is, I think in terms of an app, like a smartphone app. An app which claims I am doing it has been cut off from Lisa Cairns in Bali. Let's be technological for some time. The app which claimed I am doing this has gone off. That's why the limitation became limitless in Lisa Cairns and in other enlightened masters, which is not happening to us. Is this analogy right?
Well,
Suppose I look at
we don't
myself
really know actually what happened. We just know that there was an energetic expansion back to that
yeah,
boundlessness.
correct. But before the Bali experience, there was something claiming, I am Lisa Cairns doing this. After Bali, this I am doing this went off. The claiming part of it went off, which is the reason why the rest of humankind is suffering, because the claiming is happening. And that's why the limitation, this is happening, this is happening. Now, I am looking forward when that cutoff is going to happen in my app. That's the only expectation I have. I'm not
But
talking about enlightenment, nothing, because I know I will go through my own joys and sorrows, because it's already predestined apparatus I am in.
yeah,
And I have just the viewing rights or the sensation rights in this body. That's it. Whatever is happening. This is like you're sitting in a train in a window carriage and it's going from A to B, and it's going to go wherever it is going to go, and whatever is going to happen is going to happen. You're just sitting down there doing nothing. Is this analogy somewhat nearby? It's a journey. This body is going through a journey in time and space, where everything is predestined. Every word it speaks, every action is predestined, because it's made up of so many units, the trillion cells inside, over which it has no control. This thing doesn't have any control over what's happening inside, the heart beating, the breathing, the oxygen being taken in, the carbon dioxide going out, each oxygen molecule going to 100 trillion cells in the mitochondria of that powerhouse, and each cell turning into carbon dioxide. None of us know about it. This is the science. It's an automatic robot happening, and it's like a train journey from birth to death. The train goes through different stations, London, etc., etc. Then finally it dissolves. In between, whatever is happening is happening. In the journey, the so-called inside I is a passenger.
yeah.
And out of the 7 billion passengers who are having this journey, 7 or 70, that the journey of the passenger saying, I am journeying is lost. And then the Bali experience happens. And I am searching for that. Though I do know it's not possible. I'm just trying to sort of home on to that point that I do not have a free will and I am a robot. I means this body is a robot, which is totally important to do anything
But
by itself.
why, as you, Ilangho, would you want to identify with that? You, as Ilangho, feels like it has free will and like it's moving
No, it
through
doesn't have a
time.
free will.
But
It
it feels like that. So why are you wanting to identify as a person that you are a robot?
No, you have been too good that the identification is slowly going away. You have done that psychosurgery, where that slowly it's gone off and off and off. It's like a freak out. It's happening, and
Yeah.
on and off, when the sorrow, when the usual dips, the negatives of life happens. Again, the human animal wants to have pleasure even during that time, and wants to have the zero Lisa Cairns experience. The slowly, see, it's like a graph. It's like, the positive and the negative graph. This is the straight line. There's a positive pleasure experience and there's a negative experience, right? You're able to see me, right?
Yep.
Positive, negative. Now the human animal wants to have not to have this negative experience, wants always to have the positive experience, infinite, eternal ecstasy. So whenever in me this negative happens, it just maybe wants to have that cut off and this to be always. And this positive and negative gets amplified because the I is still holding on, and it wants to have that Lisa Bali experience. Though it understands it's a pre-programmed package. Like a Facebook or a Skype or everything is like programmed. We apparently appear to have a free will, but there is no free will. Am I right?
But
Correct or wrong?
just come back to what's actually happening. So what's
We're
happening
talking.
now?
Talking.
What else is happening?
I'm seeing you across the
Describe
laptop.
all the sensations that are happening. Describe everything.
Repeatedly you've been asking me this question, and once the question comes in, I think of the sensations, or there is just the talking happening. I have to search for my sensation now, actually.
Yeah. So just do that. It doesn't have to be feelings. It can be other sensations. It can be like you're warm.
Only when you ask this question, yes. I'm sitting down in a sofa, and I can feel my
You're on a sofa? You look like you're on a chair.
No, it's a sofa.
Ah. I always thought you're at your business desk or something. It's a sofa.
Oh, this is home. This is house.
Ah. I thought you were in your office.
No, 12 o'clock midnight.
So carry on, yep.
Okay. So once you ask me for sensation, the sensation, I have to think of my sensations. Or when I'm talking to you, there is only questioning and answers, and I'm looking at you. That's it. It's like unless the eye has dust entering the eye does not feel the eye. The human body is programmed not to feel itself. You've been asking me frequently. I wanted to give this answer. I'm giving this now. The human body is programmed not to feel itself. Only when there is a disease, it feels itself. There is an ear pain. The ear is, you know that there is an ear. When there is something going into your eye, then you know there is an eye. Otherwise, you forget there is an eye and you just walk about. There is only happening. Doing happens. But when you ask me, I'm sitting down.
So tell me, what do you feel in your torso? What emotions do you feel? Just shut your eyes and just give it some attention.
There is a feeling in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is a localization. Nothing positive or negative. There is just the entire body being here. And probably a localization there. That's it. Nothing. And a feeling that this type of an experience, talking to you, should last.
Mm-hmm. Why do you feel that feeling that it should last?
See, I've been telling you frequently, the human child, the human baby which is born, mm-hmm. comes through society, being labeled by its parents, teachers as this, and comes out and then looks at life, and then once the seeking happens, starts understanding it has screwed up its life in terms of society, time, space, cause, effect. And then it takes a long road of many years, decades, going through masters, teachers, teachings, ups and downs, its trials and tribulations. And then finally, very luckily, once in a blue moon or once in many lifetimes, I don't know, whatever it is, of so many billion people, you get an umbilical cord to an enlightened person. Mm. And you know that, this is the only source which can create that bang in you where you can become limitless.
Okay,
this is the only source.
So just follow what I'm saying. I'm just going to say something. I'm just going to say some stuff about non-duality, and just to let your attention run around your body. Just put it in.
You want me to have my eyes closed, right?
Yeah, keep your eyes closed. And just let it move to your toes, to your knees, your stomach, your heart, your throat, top of your head, your hands, your shoulders. And know that this is all there is. And forget about doership or non-doership or non-duality. This present experience is where freedom is. The person has to behave like a person with the appearance of free will and has to take the consequences of that. But that's not an experiencer. This is what is. The freedom is right here, not in the story in time. We need to use stories in order to communicate, in order to have relationships, but they're not true. We take them on to be true, and that becomes us. This is what is. And there is something experiencing this that's never been caught in a thing. It's never been bound to something. It's this boundless energy that's silent and still and in movement and knowing itself. And that person, everything you think you've been or are, is appearing in this, isn't the dreamer, but is part of the dream. The separate you is part of the dream. But you as Ilangho or as Lisa or as whoever has always got to be those characters and appear with free will, but that's not the experiencer. But the character comes as if it can feel its feelings or put its attention in its body or understand itself better. And the person often has to understand itself better and understand the seeking. That often happens while waking up is happening. Don't fight it, fuck all this language, this non-dual language of no doer and there is a doer and fight it this way but there is nobody. Don't stick to anything. This is what is, and all thoughts is nonsense. All concepts are nonsense. No concept can talk about this. This is quicker. What's being talked about is quicker than a concept. A concept is there is no doer. It goes in time, and this moment is always here. So just forget about everything that anyone's ever taught you. This this. And when the suffering comes up, just try to be honest and listen to non-duality, but don't take it seriously. The reason that we need to repeat non-duality to ourselves and keep talking about non-duality isn't because it's getting us somewhere or because it's relevant. The reason that the person needs to keep repeating non-duality is because it's trying to get out of suffering. But to be more balanced and to suffer less, not to be free, but to suffer less, just be honest. I want something else now. I want that person. I want them to respect me. I don't want them to think I'm stupid. When you aren't aware that you don't want them to think that you're stupid, then you spend all this effort trying to convince them that you're intelligent. But then when you just go, oh, I don't want to seem stupid, it just passes a lot quicker. But don't use that as a story to stay in. This is the freedom. Freedom is right here. This. And my recommendation for you as a separate person that feels separate and feels like it can do things, listen to non-duality and be honest. Be honest. And then ultimately, the ultimate honesty, when it really sinks down to what's happening, there is a boundlessness that's free. There is this intimacy with everything, the stillness that's everywhere.
And what is this be honest, Lisa, before I
Be
go in?
honest. Just be honest to what's actually going on.
Can you give an example?
Well, so say when you're at work, you feel maybe afraid to be in silence with someone, so therefore you keep chatting to cover up the silence, and it makes you be uncomfortable. So just be honest with yourself. That's an example. Or say if you don't like someone, you might be extra friendly. Yeah, like you might be extra friendly to cover that up. If you're just honest with yourself, then it makes yourself your life a lot easier. It's like, oh, I don't like that person, rather than spending 10 years trying to impress them, or they make you afraid. You're scared of them. Like, we're often not even conscious that we're scared of someone, so we run around like trying to do things for them, like in this tension. Yeah, and just become more aware of what's actually happening.
Which means you may not conform to society.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. Or you might, like, even when you're being honest, you might find it too painful to be honest with people externally, but just be honest with yourself internally. So you might be like sucking up to someone when you don't really like them, be nice, but you might not be able to say that to them, but you can just be honest with yourself. We're often not even honest with ourselves. We're like, oh, what a lovely person, and we tell ourselves what a lovely person they are, but then when we feel in our heart, we're like, actually, I don't like them. And then we might have a spiritual idea about ourselves, so we want to like everyone, so we pretend to ourselves we like everyone. Just
then what you're saying is become the animal.
yeah,
Instinctive,
it's just
instinctive.
becoming real
Animals
to
like
yourself.
jealousy.
Because what happens, not necessarily, but what happens is what the separate self is about is living in a story of itself. And this is why people suffer and get so much discomfort and their body hurts, is because they're trying to live up to a story of themselves of being nice. They're trying to live up to a story of themselves as being strong. And therefore, they're never real to what they are in the moment. They're always trying to live up to the story of what they think they should be. So if you just come back to the feelings and just try to be more honest about what's going on. So you see yourself being overly nice to someone and blah, 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 and then just give yourself a second and just acknowledge, oh, actually, I was just being nice because I'm afraid of them, or I was just being nice because I'm afraid of not being liked. Whatever it is.
What about survival?
Yeah.
For survival, you need a profession. For survival, you apparently require a home.
And
now, when you start doing whatever you want, now these things are 1 minute. These things, the main thing is your profession and home.
Yeah.
Both these things will go for a sixer.
Yeah.
Cricket.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to always do what you want. Just be honest that you're not doing something you want. Like, I can't always do what I want. Like, sometimes I would, when I'm lying in bed at night and I need the toilet, I would like the toilet to just get up and walk to me rather than me have to walk to the toilet. But it doesn't happen. I have to get up and get out of the bed and get cold.
So you mean to say professionally or personally, follow your...
Yeah, most of the time follow your feelings, but you can't always follow your feelings, so just acknowledge it though. But what's happening is most of the time you're living in a fake story of you, and you're not even aware of what you feel and what you want.
No, I'm very clear.
Yeah. Oh yeah? That's nice. Yeah. So most people aren't, most people are trying to be the nice person, they're trying to be the good person, they're trying to be the funny person, and then they're trying to be funny when underneath they're like, argh. It's just, and it doesn't need you need to tell everyone. Most people won't even understand if you do. It's just acknowledging it. And the more that you acknowledge it, the less complicated your games will be, and the more simple life will be, and more as a separate person, you'll be happy.
Okay. Suppose the fear comes up on a professional and personal front. Okay, if this is going to happen because I'm going to be me, then the survival part comes in for the animal.
Yeah.
How do you handle that when the fear comes
Just
in?
acknowledge it. Just acknowledge what's happening and just allow that fear to come up.
There's a fear.
Yeah.
And then what happens? How do you be honest with the fear?
Just to be honest, because most of the time people aren't honest about that. What they do is they get defensive, is they get angry. They start telling themselves it's that person's fault. But just acknowledge it and just give yourself some time to let the fear take over.
My thing about fear is, I'm not blaming X, Y, Z in professional or personal front about what's happening. The only thing is the fear affects me.
Yeah.
That's where I'm not able to handle. It's not the other person at all now.
Yeah.
Or the other place. It's me.
Yeah.
I'm scared. So, I've had doldrums in life. I've gone down and come up a lot. I'm scared that may happen.
You've had what?
Doldrums means like going down into the pits of suffering.
Yeah.
I have been touched near death, and sort of this human body is now scared to reach that point. Not the point of death, but suffering. Dependent on people stuff. How do you get over that fear of... See, for example, in Bali, you told you were totally sort of relatively without money, with nobody, your parents not knowing what to do. That stage is sort of not near to me. I mean, the fear part is still there. I'm dependent on somebody for my food. It appears stupid, but like every day you have to have your food, shelter, clothing. And despite being in a relatively professionally better way with affluence, still that survival is there. It's really stupid on my part, because 10-15 years ago this was not there. Now with I'm 53 now, and knowing so much, I don't know why that fear part is still there for this human body. And that's the only nidus. If I cut that, I'm flying.
So just give yourself a little short period of time to acknowledge it. That's all. Just give yourself, if the fear comes up, just go to the bathroom or stop seeing a patient, whatever you do. Just go and take some time alone to sit and give yourself 5 minutes to acknowledge where you feel that sensation and what you want to do to get rid of it. Feel that seeking that's trying to get out of the fear. And that's all you have to do, is acknowledgement of it. And then just carry on with your rest of your day.
So the fear is, if you do this, professionally or personally, there's going to be probably a suffering. I mean, that's the only thing happening everywhere, professional or personal life. And
Yeah.
if you're going to take XYZ action for your freedom, which I feel is the ultimate thing for a human person, freedom to be free from anybody or any place.
Yeah.
Where relationships hurt, professionally or personally, and people, take you on that storyline, and they expect you to conform to their expectations, professionally and personally, where you want to be totally free, and you're willing to die for that freedom.
Yeah.
That's the discrepancy.
Yeah. I think it is for a lot of people as well. So just acknowledge that when it's coming up, and acknowledge that thought process. You don't have to do anything. I'm not telling you to act. I'm just saying acknowledge those fears.
It's
Just
there,
recognize it when it's happening. Don't pretend it's not happening. Don't try to be enlightened. Just acknowledge it.
I am recognizing that. And I'm not blaming XYZ for that.
Yeah.
The only thing is that happens, and I still feel that has to go, probably. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, don't even think about it has to go or not. Just let it come when it comes. Let the wave come when it comes. Nice. Thanks, Ilangho. Nice
Thank
to
you
speak
so
with
much,
you.
Lisa.
With
I don't
pleasure.
know, after having listened to so many, and I don't think anybody is hitting the nail on the head as hard as you.
Still, even though now I'm giving prescription, I'm still.
Yeah, but still, that nail on the head. And I've been telling Rikach, for your second Buddha the Gatsby.
Yeah, he asked me again recently.
Yeah, and he goes off on a tangent. I don't want to name people, XYZ, who keep seeing, guardian angels on top of somebody's head, and etc., etc. And he's like buying that storyline. And I keep telling, there is nobody to match Lisa. Seriously. And when you put me into silence today, I was like, it was nearly, tears welling up in the eyes. And this thing was wanting to come out saying, like, I'll die for you.
Oh. But it's you, because it's that love, it's that amness that you'll die for. That's beautiful, Ilangho. That's so beautiful, because it's that amness. That's what I was representing in that moment. Is your freedom.
Because that freedom, and the only place where you can get that answer truly so much at the core, I think history will recognize what you're doing now. But as of now, maybe there are about 100 people listening to you, and 4,000, 5,000 people only following you. But this has never happened, even with Ramana Maharishi or with Osho or with Eckhart Tolle or with whoever it is. And when it comes through this, web and the Skype sessions, it's like, for people like us who are still in the body-mind apparatus with an eye, and we look up like, Caucasian blue-eyed God or whatever it is, the Hindu deities. When it comes through a body, that's you're talking to God. That's the feel I always get when I speak to you. This was like, when I was closing I wanted to say, should I say this with an open audience, yes or no? It's happening.
And it
I'll
came.
die for you.
Aw, that's sweet, Ilangho. I understand what you mean, because I understand that when it's touched, like that amness, that beingness is just such giving. It's absolute love. It's like the heart splits open. So I understand that sense.
And with the infinity of this universe, you living in a planet, meeting another human body, and that human body telling you through your software, this is what to be done in this infinity. It's a rare, rare chance.
Nice.
Be blessed.
Thanks, Ilangho. Nice to speak with you. Lots of love.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.